Hi, welcome back to the Drawing Database. Professor Mark Leone here, and today we're going to take a look at one of my mentors, one of the individuals, artist painters that I studied with, and his name is Harry Carmian. Harry was born in 1922 in Anthony, Kansas, and is still alive to my knowledge today in Santa Barbara, California at the forever young age of 98. So I had the pleasure of studying with him at Art Center College of Design in the early 90s, 93, 94, 95, right before he retired. So I feel particularly lucky to have had that experience. So let's take a look at some of his drawings and ideas today. We'll look at the drawings. So you can see primarily a really beautiful gestural kind of style in the formation of the forms, the quick contouring, and he's using a pastel tone and a chamois to get some of these browner tones, but the quality of draftsmanship and a very quick, almost what is seemingly an effortless kind of style is very learned and very rich with lots of ideas, both in terms of foreshortening here, as well as elongation, certainly here with the figure, and the beautiful simplicity of the forms you see in the head, and the quality of contour line that the artist, Mr. Carmian, is using here. He's only one of the few people I call Mr. Carmian because I respect him so much, because we were all kind of scared of him too when we were in our art school, even though he wasn't an imposing figure, but that's the kind of respect he earned among illustrators and those who are drawing the figure. But there's a simplicity there and a richness there that you see, and you certainly get this very gestural style. And then do certainly notice the beautiful use of varying degrees of contour line overlap for foreshortening here. Look at all this beautiful overlap that you get here. This continual quality of turning the form in almost a very painterly kind of style. So this particular pose is wonderful, as if we're looking now up at the model. So this real hip turn you get here. You get this overturn in the O's, mouth, the eyes, the mouth, the head, overturn in the hip, this marcation in through here, and then overturn, and then we get the underturn as we come back to almost eye level. So we're very low in the composition, looking quite a bit up to the model here, and just a very dominant pose as the model's looking down on us. Notice the model is mainly in shadow, so a quick broadening of the stroke of the charcoal here is charcoal tip. He's using this very much broad width section, turning it over to the side and laying on this beautiful broad stroked value. It's a very simple value structure, just pretty much one value with contour line and a two-value approach to render the figure. Here we see a gray toned paper and still about a two-tone drawing, but he uses the tone of the paper here to great effect to influence the overall value of the model. And then we see white chalk in a very painterly fashion, very quickly laid in to signify the very intense artificial lamplight on the model here. He emphasizes some quick core shadows here and here under the armpit, on the belly region and through here to turn the model, the bicep in through there, but the lovely control of gesture in through here, down the model's forms, up above, in a very quick kind of way. Most of these drawings, I got to watch him draw for several classes, which was an education in and of itself, and these are probably no more than about 30-minute studies, maybe a little bit longer. So he could really go a long way in a very, very short period of time. It takes a lot of control. But you see some of the ideas that we talk about, the quick armature gesture. You can see it in this flowy line here, and then the quick contouring on top. So he would get to that pretty early and then slow down things in the middle of the head. Some of the darker aspects of the line, really slow it down with tone and take his time there. But the real strong pulling of rhythm this way, then back towards where the alignment being really gets emphasized and torques and turns. There's nobody better that I've seen at this kind of style. And so I'm the lucky owner of about four of Harry's drawings over the years. His wife, as he's gotten older, has put them on eBay, and I was lucky enough to procure four of them. And this particular model, Joe, I had the pleasure of drawing when I was in Harry's classes back in the early 93, 94. And so this is Joe here. Long-term model with Harry here. And you get to see the elegant quality of the draftsmanship, the rhythm coming through this way, all the way down to the knee and through. The great control of foreshortening, overlapping quality here. Look at that beautiful kind of quality that we see coming through. That's lovely. But then we get, I'm going to take this out, we also get this beautiful design, and then the two-tone rendering, or really three tones. We get the light, right value, the mid-tone value, and then a core shadow value. Really, you can get just about everything done in three values. And of course, this is from the Renaissance. These techniques from Italian Mannerists, Baroque, and also the Impressionists. And this particular drawing reminds me so much of Tiepolo and some of these really wonderful, we used to call these lightning bolts in art school, the Carmian lightning bolts, and you'll see me do that some. This is really a cross-contouring approach, a very shorthanded approach to that cross contour. I remember Harry telling us, he was amazed at, he'd look at the Italians and these tiny little lines that they would make over their drawing for hours and hours, and it just wasn't his personality. It was more flamboyant, but he emphasized these quicker contours to emphasize where core shadows were, where light turns into dark, and also to turn the model and to turn the figure. So you'll see that quite a bit. Look for those on. Go look at Tiepolo. I've got him on this series of art history and drawing too. But this is a beautiful, beautiful back study. I love this drawing in particular because you get the idea of the teaching that what I gathered and teach from my time with Harry is the axis and design line. So you get the oval of the head, right? But look at this axis of the shoulders. He brings the shoulders down a little bit. The design line here, right, all the way through axis, feeling quickly of the width, leg in through here. I love when he shows us that, and then down towards the legs in through here, and then everything after that is really building on his beautiful knowledge of form. Here we look to the center, we get the axis of width of these beautiful quads and hamstrings of the legs, and then this is the same thing as this in terms of, I look at that idea, right? There's the thickness width, we look there peripherally and we see the width of that. Just a gorgeous quick gesture study. And look at those beautiful control of the feet, the toe in through here, coming down the digits of the condyles of the toe, the nail, right? And then the gesture of the feet. So this one's a little bit more unusual. I didn't get to see this as much in my time. It might be a little bit earlier at 67, but look at the broad charcoal stroke that he makes. Right, we get this rhythm through there and then downward. But what's nice about it, he's using probably a pretty thick either charcoal pencil to the side or almost a charcoal stick, but we get a very dramatic, don't we, light and dark pattern coming through, right in through there. And he gets to it pretty quickly, pretty bluntly, but he controls that rhythm rather gorgeously through there. But a nice chunky charcoal, dark, thick mark in the rendering of value tone. We don't see the classic lightning bolts of contouring yet. We see a little bit of that as well in some of those areas, but gorgeous study there. Here we see a very quick interpretation of gesture. Very loose, very aggressive, very painterly, especially in the light, especially in this region. It's not very refined, very, very loose. Beautiful. Look at the gorgeous foreshortening we get in this leg. Kind of the bread box look here, right? Downward. Look at the volume coming through, and then we get the frontal of the leg, and then foreshortened down with the patella region in through here, and then the widening of the foot coming down and kind of disappearing, and then we get the elongation here in the volume. Again, even in gesture, we want to push our line weight variation. Look at that variation through there. And again, we see about three tones, don't we? A light tone, right? A medium, almost the paper, and then a little bit darker line tone. Just in three values, you can get quite a bit going. And also look, see the environment. Include that in your drawings. Get a little bit of emphasis of what the model, where the model is. Another quick gesture here. Beautiful control of flow through the buttocks. capturing the form shadow and cast shadows together. We have shadow in through here, just a little bit of light, but just really sumptuous quality of here's your axis lines here. Look at the emphasis there. Find that really quickly. Flow here, armature gesture, and you could spend more time if you want different style, or you can really go for the gusto and go for a quick contour line. That's a more learned approach. Very difficult in the beginning. Even I still struggle with it. It's not really my style, but I like to emulate it and when I'm teaching some too. Again, you get the three tones there. Just another gorgeous example from Carmien's long career. Powerful study here. It's almost Donatello-esque in its thinness and gauntness. It reminds me of Donatello's Mary Magdalene. He uses three different colors here. He uses white. Can you detect it? The maroon, and then this dark navy blue. He would do that often in class, and we would use this Canson Metientis tone paper out here, right, and then work the gesture very lightly. And it was very difficult for us, I remember, as students, because the pastel pencils Carbothello pencils were so light and so difficult to control, but that was part of the process. And then once we get the gesture, look at this beautiful lima bean emerging in through here, expanding here. Look at the pushed out rib cage, really getting the gauntness, and then the pelvic crest, the iliac crest coming out. Look at that, really emphasizing expansion here, right, and then contraction here on this side, especially right in through here. And then you get this shadow shapes, and then a toning in, and then let the major tone of the paper do most of the work for you, and you get a little bit of value in the light to emphasize that. It's a very economic way to draw and get quite a bit of illusion very quickly. Here we're using pastel and some pastel powder dust in the chamois to get this painterly tone. This is a very painterly kind of process. We would look at several different artists throughout the semester. He would lecture, and then we would emulate that style. I believe this at times would be Pachine, French artist, in a very, very kind of painterly approach to the rendering of the value. So you take your chamois, your cloth chamois, and then dip it into some powdered pigment, shaved pastel pencil from sharpening, and you could once you get your gesture in, you could tone it in. Look at the head, brilliantly designed with an economy of means, just a few strokes in through there. So once you really know what you're crafting and know what you're doing, you can really start to be painterly. We can see our axis lines, gesture coming through those areas. Really beautiful. This is a gorgeous study of being almost in the dark. We get this strong maroon dark color, right? We see our gesture being emphasized, and then what really strikes us is the glow of the light. So that's really emphasized here dramatically, especially in the focal point across the shoulder region. And again, we still have three tones, but the value system overall is darker. We have the maroon color, we have the darker pencil color in the coarse shadows, and then we have, of course, the light color. You can see it across the leg and through the knee there. But he doesn't blend the pastel pencil. He lets the paper show a little bit through and doesn't blend those tones like you might see in chalk, kind of like chalk pastel painting a little bit. But a very gorgeous, very stark light and dark study, and I love this overlap. He gets in through here, down, and in the belly region, in that little C shape, right, for the belly button. Let me take that out so you can really see that further. Pretty early on, 58. I was still 11 or 12 years before I was being born. I love both of these studies, the gesture study and a little tone here as he gets this really beautiful. Look at the erector spinae really pushing over to the center. Look how the center changes back to the center of the head here, down the back. We get the gesture here, and then the rib cage really is in kind of a Baroque torqued force, right, turning around this way. Then he comes all the way through and over to the center where the sacrum is. This is the center of the body, the buttock in through here. We get pelvic unit, the box in here, side of that, and then we come down to the knee, out to the leg, and I love the bulkiness of the calf in through here, and then the outer stretches of the the soleus to the gastro, and on top of the gastrocnemius, and then this beautiful chalk rendering of charcoal and probably white. I'm detecting a little blue in through here. That's really lovely too as well. Very, very nice, lovely, stark job on, again, toned paper. Tour de force and foreshortening, isn't it? So we see overlap, overlap, right? Overlap, overlap, overlap here, overlap, 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 overturn, right? Overturn, but then overlap of the hip trochanter region. This would be overlap 2, overlapping of the feet, right? Overlap. So you get this, and you get overlap here, all that, and this is not as foreshortening through there. Using the pastel tone with the chamois to get a painterly approach, and just gorgeous economy of means in a very elegant pose. Here's your center, right here, down, center line, over to the center right, and on through to the hip. One of my favorites, I think it's after a master. It looks like Tiepolo, but I can't be for sure. But it has the qualities of looking upward from a position lower than. So we get a worm's eye view looking up to the model, and we get this gorgeous painterly turning of rhythm. So you can use coarse shadows and turning, separating the light and dark as rhythmic movements to turn the model and give us this beautiful connection here, up and around and over. And you get this very elegant economic means of drawing. I've said it several times. A pastel rendering shading with the chamois, and then going back and hitting very strong contour lines. Let me take some of these red lines off so you can see that more cleanly. But this is Carmine after, might be Tiepolo, I'm not quite sure. Maybe Ghiberti, but we get a beautiful, nonetheless, we get a beautiful study.